area. Um, I serve Virginia Beach, Norfolk, Chesapeake, um, and Suffolk. Sometimes Williamsburg. I go up there for some clients. I've been in the business. It'll be 16 years in about 2 weeks.
Ah, congratulations.
Congrats. You look great. You don't look weathered at all. Okay, so we'll start with Heather again. What do you feel like you do really well?
I would say so it's myself and I have a business partner. We're sort of a two-woman team, really. We have a part-time assistant, and we have been a team for 7 years. So almost since I was a new agent. And so I was lucky in the aspect of kind of partnering up with somebody that was a little bit more seasoned. So a lot of the systems were in place, but we really focus in on our systems and organizations. We probably do on average about 80 transactions a year between the two of us. We don't practice dual agency. I don't know if that's legal in Virginia or
Yes.
not. It's legal here, but we just don't practice it. So it is not a workaround. We're not representing doing one to get the other on the other side. So we are extremely busy, which is great, but you have to have those systems and organization in place. And we are huge on sort of loving on our clients. We are really all referral based. We don't buy leads. So it's all organic for the most part. And so it's really, to me, the organization, the listening, the problem solving, knowing your market, knowing your lane, I think is also really important. So that's kind of where I think we really excel.
Do you have like a transaction coordinator in
We
your
don't.
office? You do it all yourself?
We do it all ourselves. Yeah.
Okay. And then what is your average price point in your market?
It's about 300,000. So,
Okay.
and it ranges. Our neighborhoods wildly vary, and we have been in a really slow market for the last 2 years.
Mhm. I think everyone has. It's
Yeah.
been,
For us, it's been insurance on top of interest rates. We are definitely on an insurance crisis. So it's been a challenging and a declining population.
yeah. All right, Kimberly, the same question. What do you feel like you do really well?
I do a couple of things very well. One is I have an incredible amount of patience with my clients. Um, I will often nurture a lead for 2, 3, 4 years, and not let them go. I keep my pipeline up that way, which has been very, very helpful and helps with kind of the ups and downs that other agents feel in the market if they're just trying to get to the transaction. So I actually just talked to a client yesterday and told them it's perfectly fine. They said we need to wait a year. No problem. I'll keep in touch. And give them no pressure. So I'm very patient and no pressure, and that's something that my clients really like about me. So when they're ready, they know that they can come to me and I can act very quickly, but they never feel pressure from me. The other thing that I do really well is keep in touch with my sphere and keep them aware that this is what I do. I'm not a sales, I'm not a salesy person at all. So when I'm out with anyone, I drop hints that this is what I do, but I never go in and say, so who do you know that wants to buy a house? Because that turns me off and it turns most of my clients off. So it's a personality thing. Some people do amazingly with that. It's just not natural to me. So it's always like, oh, I was showing houses. Oh, I just closed something, and that helps keep me actively in everyone else's mind that this is what I do, but without being in your face about it.
We call it being gross. We're like, don't be gross. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so you said that you nurture and you keep in touch. How are you doing that? Do you have a CMA that you sort of go back to keep you organized with that, or how do you?
I have one, I work out of a CRM and a spreadsheet. And so I have an Excel spreadsheet that at any time has a list of anyone who has talked to me about potentially making a move at some point. And I've got a list of buyers and a list of sellers, and I pay attention to their areas. So I don't send CMAs regularly, but when something pops in their neighborhood, I send them a personal message. Hey, I just saw this house went on the market down the street from you, or hey, I've got somebody that's looking to buy in your neighborhood. So again, it's very organic and it doesn't feel salesy. I do some newsletters. I actually just stopped one set of newsletters and I'm getting ready to launch a completely different something that I'm doing myself next month because I realized that clients get the same kind of information from everyone in the business and they all know 10 or 15 agents. So I'm trying to do stuff that's a little bit more specific to them and where they are as opposed to, here's how to buy an investment property that, the same thing is going out from every agent in my firm.
Well, that's a beautiful segue. So, what marketing do you find is the most beneficial to your business, and any unique marketing that you've recently tried or would like to try, or that you've heard about maybe at other events or with other agents?
So personal connection is the best marketing that you can do, is staying in touch, staying in communication, and mixing it up. So it's not always mail, it's not always phone calls, it's a little bit of everything. So I'm paying attention to them on social media and commenting on what they're doing. I'm paying attention to what their family and friends are doing. So, oh, we're thinking about putting mom in a nursing home. Well, then I'm in touch. And I'm not in touch to sell mom's house. I'm in touch to see what else they need. Do they need movers? Do they need something else? And keeping that, but it's all about face to face, voice to voice contact, and a little social media on the side. But in terms of unique things that I've recently done, um, I'm right now after August and the changes in kind of the industry and what's going on, I'm noticing that a lot of agents who were kind of coasting into retirement are fed up and they don't want to deal with learning the new things and learning how to talk about compensation structures and all of that. And so I've been friends with them. I love learning from more experienced agents. But right now I'm tapping into if you don't want to do it, I will. So
Yep.
they're handing me clients and I'm paying them a nice referral fee. But then their referral is now in my database and they're now referring me to other people.
Got
So
it.
I'm finding that that's working quite well
Yeah.
recently.
So it's like you're almost like taking over people's books of business then, if they've got one foot
Yes,
out. Mhm.
but not people that think that they have a book of business to sell. It's the
Right.
people that were selling, you know, 10, 15 houses a year that don't want to go through the hassle for the
Mhm.
two or three they might be doing now.
Now, did you actively reach out to those agents?
Yes, when I see them, and the minute an agent says anything about retiring, well, this is what I do. I'm going to give you such and such a referral fee when you hand me a piece of business, and then I'm going to trickle that down. So here's what I'm going to give you for that referral. When that person refers me someone else, I'll give you a sliver of that, which is a substantially smaller sliver, but it gives them the feeling that that I'm not only keeping their contacts. I'm taking care of their contacts, but I'm taking care of those referral sources as well.
Right. Yeah, that's genius. Love that. Heather, same question. Any kind of unique marketing that you've tried or want to try? And then what do you find is the most beneficial that you've been using?
So, sort of same, but a little bit different, I guess. Also, big on the personal connection, the paying attention to people's social media, what they're posting. For example, let's say somebody loses a pet. Well, we always make a donation to the SPCA in their pet's name. They get a little card. It's kind of a nice surprise and delight, right? Like where they're feeling away and they realize that you've recognized that, and then you're staying top of the mind without being gross about it. When they announce they're pregnant, we send a little swaddle set, and there's a company called Little Hometown, and they do state specific items. So you could look up Virginia, and so they'll have, maybe a dogwood swaddle or something that you can kind of send. So it's personal. It recognizes what's going on in their life and keeping you at top of mind. So we're kind of big on doing that kind of thing also. Interesting on the agents getting ready to kind of retire out. We just had a conversation about that and kind of ways to tap into that and without necessarily buying their book of business, right? So with more of a transition plan of starting to work with them so that their clients now are meeting with you with them so
Mhm.
that you're becoming familiar and you're going to be the person that you get kind of passed off to.
Mhm.
And of course, obviously paying a referral fee off of that business. The other thing that kind of came up recently, which kind of interesting, is if you are, maybe there are markets or niches that you're not able to tap into if you don't have small children or your kids are grown or you're, a single person, how do you kind of get into those circles that you're not organically into? And so looking at who that might want to be licensed but not practicing as also looking just for kind of a referral. So you're paying for them to get their license and kind of keeping up with their dues and whatnot, but they're kind of creating a segue for you into these circles that otherwise you wouldn't get into.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
As our kids get older.
Yep.
Okay. Your best idea to get more business.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I really believe it's loving on your current clients and growing that. And there's nothing that's going to beat a referral, right? Like it's just if they already know, like, and trust somebody that already knows, likes, and trusts you, then that's just a beautiful segue into, working with people that also you're going to enjoy working with, because I think that's super important to find your people because as we all know, it's not even. So I think, for me, that is truly the concentration is kind of focusing on where we are and kind of building that and through referrals.
Mhm. Kim, is there
100%,
anything?
100% what she just
Yeah.
said.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any secrets, like there's not a secret to this, right? Like
No.
it's the
And it's
stuff
not
that
that hard.
works,
You just have
works.
to do it. You just have
It's
to
the
keep in touch with
consistency.
people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Consistency of continuing to do it
Yep.
and not letting yourself get distracted by what you're hearing, you know, you need to be making 3 hours of calls a day. You need to be doing this. You need to be calling for sale by owners and expired listings. Again, that's great for some people. That I find there's so much work involved in that. I'd rather say have somebody call me and say, Katie just referred me you um come over and list my house, and I don't have to do a ton of prep work on that besides a CMA because they're already committed to me
Yep.
before I even walk in the front door. And
Yep.
so that just allows for much more time to do anything else, like loving on my clients.
Yep. If I had to rely on cold calling or door knocking, I would have to find another job. Like that is so uncomfortable to me and absolutely, like, I think about it. I don't want someone showing up at my door or just calling me at random. So I just that's yeah, no, I would never answer the door. So I mean, it really is about that referral based business.
Hmm.
Is there one thing that you've implemented in your business or your life, it can be outside of business, in the last year that's been a game changer?
Well, one, I just became an empty nester, so that has alleviated a lot of stress in my life because I'm not taking anyone to practice anymore, which has been lovely. But the one thing that I have just started using, I would say in the last 3 months, is AI. And
Okay.
I fought it. I'm against the concept of it. I don't like it, but man, does it make me more efficient.
How are you using it? Like, what are the,
Um, Little things, as simple as helping me write listing descriptions. I've now trained my AI what I want them to sound like so I can give it bullet points and it'll make it sound the way I want it to sound. Of course, I have to tweak it. Um, but that's something. I'm not a natural writer. So I found that helps me get through that much more quickly. I've had it write marketing plans for me. I was on a listing appointment for a horse property, which is not something I normally do. And I said, write me a marketing plan for this. And it came up with, you know, the websites I needed to be on and the organizations I needed to get in front of, the magazines that those people read. It would have taken me hours or days to figure out that information,
Yeah.
and it shot it to me in about 30 seconds.
You were speaking their language, so they were really
Exactly.
impressed. Yeah,
So then
that's
they knew that I knew what I was talking about, even though honestly, I really didn't.
awesome. I
But I
love
knew
that.
who to get in front of, and once I get in front of the right people, I can sell it. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
Heather, same thing.
I can't
Anything?
really think of anything major in the last year that is different or has changed my life. Maybe setting better boundaries, learning to be okay with the no, and really practicing, I guess, the pause, not reacting, but responding to things because I feel like there's so much, particularly when dealing with other agents, that I kind of want to fire back immediately and, kind of pausing and then really thinking about what I want to say and how I want to frame it and how I want to direct the conversation.
Yeah, I love that.
Al-
Um,
Along those lines, the other thing that that I have figured out just recently is how to remind myself constantly that it's the client's decision, not mine.
Right.
And if something's going on, it's probably not something that I caused. And so taking on that stress of, we've got a bad home inspection, we've got, a buyer that lost their job, we've got, whatever these chaotic things that spin us for circles, the majority of the time it's not something that we've caused and we have to react in a calm way without making it worse. And spending the time reliving and stressing about it takes away the time that you're actually doing the business and solving the problem. So
right.
that's been very important recently.
What about, do you have any favorite apps, real estate or otherwise, that make your life easier?
Chat GPT.
What's
I also just got Land Glide. I don't know if you all are
it
familiar
called?
with Land Glide.
And Glide.
Um, and it has two things that are very interesting. One is it has the name of the owner of every single property in the US.
Wow.
So you can go on there and like if you're driving around and there's a map, it'll GPS you to the location and tell you who owns it. And I learned this from commercial agents because they use it to be able to find owners of commercial buildings. And it's been very interesting. The other thing it did was I was at a property in Williamsburg and we couldn't figure out where the lot lines were. And I could turn on this app and walk the property, and it would tell me where the edge was. It would tell me where I was in comparison to the edge. It's not exact, it's not a survey, but it'll give you a basic gist. And I'm told that it's normally within about 10 or 15 feet.
Oh,
So
wow.
you can get a basic idea. So it was a weird lot. And so I was walking around trying to figure out where the corners were. It was very interesting.
Land
We're
God.
all taking notes on that. That's a good one.
How much does it cost?
Is it
10 to 100 per.
It's like $100 a year. If you don't need it regularly, I wouldn't necessarily do it. They do have a 7-day free trial. So if you're ever like, oh gosh, last minute I need to do this, then you can get on it.
Heather, do you have any favorite apps that you're using?
Not really. I was trying to think of that earlier, if there was anything, that for business wise, if there was anything that kind of helped me. But I mean, I can't say that anything's standing out. I'm sure the second that I'm done with this, I'll think of seven. Um,
Right.
Email them to
um,
us.
yeah, TBD.
I want to know.
Yeah.
Everybody probably has an app like this, but I use the mileage, the mile IQ, so you
Oh,
can
yes.
keep track of which, is it business or not. It's
Yeah.
just easy thing to keep track
Absolutely. I've had
of.
that for almost 10 years.
Yes.
Yes, it's
But I
I
use
use
that
the
regularly.
FEMA flood map a whole lot, but I don't know that that's
Oh,
for everybody.
I bet
it's
you do.
pretty relevant here.
Yeah,
It's
so
very relevant here.
so definitely rely on that a whole lot.
Yeah.
And then have you read any good books with some great ahas in the last year or so, or any time frame? So a book that really made a difference in your business or your life?
I am not a great reader, I'll be honest with you, but probably real estate wise, the books that have kind of helped the most, Atomic Habits and Ninja Selling.
Okay.
I've read both of those. Very good. Um, Unreasonable Hospitality by Will
I just
Gudera.
finished that. That's a good
Yeah.
one. Mhm.
It's so good. I started my career pre-real estate in the hospitality business. I worked for Marriott for 10 years, and I was a hospitality and service trainer for all of the East Coast, like southeast coast of the country. So the hospitality thing totally translates.
Mhm.
Um, Highly suggested if the rest of your team has not read it that they read that.
Yeah, that is a great one.
What's the book that Heather said?
Heather, it was Atomic Habits and Ninja Selling, and then Unreasonable Hospitality is Will Guidara. Um, how do you keep yourself accountable? Do either of you have coaches or mentors or people that you check in with?
Well, I have a business partner, so we do a pretty good job of kind of the accountability there. I don't have a coach though.
So I
Drew,
go ahead.
Drew is on our call and he's actually a coach. He coaches a lot of people. He'll be contacting you later. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, that's what this is about. This is a sales call. Um, I had a coach for 5 years. It got it got me through some things. I no longer have that coach. I have an accountability group that is not at all real estate related. It's a group of female entrepreneurs, most of whom are new into their lines of work. But I like that because it makes me think outside of the box. And I also have an agent in my office. We do what's called our brag table. So we get together at least once a month, and all we do is talk about our wins. We don't talk about what we've done wrong, what we're struggling with. It's positive.
Love
And
that.
what I like about that is it focuses on what we're doing well and makes us want to do that more
Yeah.
instead of part of my issue with a couple of the coaches that I've had in the past, it was, why aren't you doing? Instead of, let's celebrate what you do and what you do well, and let's do more of that. Don't try to do something that is unnatural to you, but let's go all in on the stuff that is natural.
Right. No, I love that because that's like what with kids, like teaching them, you're supposed to kind of lean more into their strengths and punish them for what they're bad
Hmm.
at. That makes total sense.
Yes.
Social media. What do you do? Do you have a written plan? Do you wing it? Do you do it at all?
Both. We sit down and sort of write out a content calendar, usually in December for the next year, and then we kind of tweak it throughout the year. But we fly fast and loose also, so we make changes. We're flexible. Sometimes things change right throughout the year, and things you weren't expecting come up, and so. But between the two of us, we kind of do a little bit of everything. Obviously, Facebook, Instagram. She does TikTok. I do not. YouTube channel, Google, kind of all of the things. A little bit of LinkedIn, which I find harder to kind of be consistent with. And LinkedIn, it's super important to be consistent, and you got to really make sure if you're using it that you're going in and commenting and being thoughtful about other people's posts because that's how that changes that algorithm.
So what are you doing like for TikTok as your business partner, like
Makes
dance,
little reels and little
some more
videos and stuff.
educational?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, my cat's going to jump in this
Uh,
at any given time, so just fine.
Hi, Katie. Kimberly, what about you?
This is, I would say, a work in progress. I'm not natural with social media. I find it a little awkward. So I'm working on it. I did hire someone to help me with it. And basically what she's doing is sitting down and teaching me like how to do how do you make a reel? How do you make a carousel? How do you put something together on Canva? So I'm working on that. It's definitely a work in progress, but I need help with that because that part is not something that I do automatically.
Right. Same. And
And
it's such,
she's
that's not
holding
where,
me accountable to, you didn't post this week. Where have you been? What are you doing? We need to know. So,
Heather, how many times a week are you posting?
So on Instagram, I probably post 4 to 5 times a week, and it changes. So when I to get in the habit of it, I used to post every single day at the same time, right? Like just sort of kind of to create that structure. And it wasn't necessarily real estate things. I walk around a lot and like we all do, and I take pictures while I go and I just kind of post whatever. And I don't use a scheduling app. A lot of people find that super helpful, but I this is where I will say I kind of wing it. I'm working very hard to sit down and make myself a social media calendar just for me, and kind of stick to peppering in listings and sales, but with other things, because that's if all you're doing is putting out there your listings or whatnot, people will get bored with it, right? And you want people to engage and comment and make sure that you're commenting back. So I've tried to get a little bit better about mixing in business and personal, because also it's important, we are our brand, right? So it's important that people, sorry, I knew that was going to happen, get to see us and kind of, I feel like creates the personal. They feel like they already know you. Like, so people will message me on Instagram. I feel like I've known you forever and I can't believe you do this and I love your neighborhood, you know. And so it's kind of nice that way that it gives a built-in sense of familiarity, but you kind of control how much you're putting out there.
Yes, I love that. So if you could go back in time and give yourself some solid advice as a brand new agent, what would you tell your brand new agent self?
Probably a couple of things. Making sure you have a healthy savings account is important. Pay your taxes, and also don't spend money before you're making money. I think there's so much about this business, especially when you're a new agent and you don't know what you don't know, that you kind of get attracted to the shiny objects and thinking you have to do something one way because and you're spending thousands of dollars on a platform that you could have done yourself, or you could have kind of knocked off a little bit. And you don't need all of that. Really, it's the basics. It's the getting in front of people, following up, being consistent. And also, I think the other thing that no one really preps you for in real estate is how lonely this job can be, especially when you're super busy. It is, I feel like we don't talk about that part of it enough. It can be really isolating. And I think having a partner kind of changed that for both of us, because I have a built-in person to always talk to. But if you ever feel that way, call me. I mean, like that, truly, like it can be extremely lonely. And I feel like no one talks about that part of it.
Right. Or you just end up divorced because you've dumped all over your partner about your day. They're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a wonderful business, but it's a hard business. And just I feel like we kind of gloss over that part of it and expect that we're all just shiny, happy people all the time. And that's not that's maybe what we want to project, but that's not the reality of it. And having a great group of, doesn't have to be agents, but it is nice to have agents that you can talk to, because they can at least relate to what you're going to, because most of other people, if they're not in this industry, it won't make sense, right? Like they're like, what's the big deal? You show pretty houses. I mean, how many times do you hear that, you know? And so It's really hard not to also internalize our clients' problems
Mhm.
and take that on, because most of the time I think we get into this business because we like to help people, and a lot of us are people pleasers. Guilty. Uh,
Yeah.
so I think, finding those boundaries and kind of to touch what was said earlier is you can't internalize everything and you can't always fix everything. So listening and offering suggestions, but keeping some boundaries is good.
How about you, Kimberly? What would you tell your new agent self?
Well, first, I want to thank Heather for just saying that out loud because that's something that is almost never said, but it can be a very lonely business. Especially when you become best friends with your clients through a transaction, and then all of a sudden you don't have the need to see them every day anymore. And so you have these like really tight connections. And then, I mean, as much as we stay in close contact and we stay friends, it's not that all day, every day. And so that can be, the ups and downs of that can be difficult. Um, but if I could go back in time, I would say don't be a secret agent, but also don't be gross. Find find the happy medium of, making sure that people know what you're doing and why you're doing it and how you're doing it, but you don't have to be in their face all the time. Um, I find that the most successful agents coming out of the gate find that balance sooner rather than later. Um, and to keep in touch with people, don't, but keep in touch with the people that you enjoyed working with more. If
Mhm.
you've got that client that was a pain in the butt and cringed every time their name came up on your phone, it's okay not to keep in touch with them as well.
Yep,
Yeah,
1000%.
And you will know that you have made it in this business, and you will know when you have a career that is going to last when you are comfortable firing your first client. When you get to a point where you say, I don't care how much this is going to earn me in a commission, this is not worth my mental health or my stress to be treated this way or to have these unrealistic expectations. And the minute that you get to that, then I have faith that you will make it through.
so true. How are you raising your level of service from customer service to client experience?
Well, I think the big thing is not, for us to kind of change our sort of mentality about this. It's not a transaction, right? We can't think of it as a singular thing. It has to be sort of, I was joke with clients when I meet with them, like, oh, you're never getting rid of me. We're in it forever, right? Like it's the long-term thing, and really anticipating needs, having the hard conversations. I think there's a lot about this business where people don't want to talk about the ugly stuff, but we have to, right? That's our job. So I feel like being super open and constantly educating our clients as well as ourselves, like challenging ourselves to get outside of our comfort zone, learn new things, and bringing that back to the table, and also collaborating with other agents. I learned so much from things like this or just talking to people. So I think all of that comes into play, especially if you're, really focused on a super organic business. Um, that all kind of comes into play, and it's not a customer service event, it's a client experience, because from start to finish, and there's really no finish, that's the joke. um you're in it with them, and they know that you're top of mind, you're who they call with those big events are happening in their lives or their families' lives.
Great.
I again, I agree with Heather. It's not a transaction, it is a lifetime relationship. So once we're working together, that's it. I want to be your number one call anytime there's anything related to real estate, home, finances around that, insurance around that. I want them calling me. And I want to keep that up long term, because it's not about one transaction. If it was about one transaction, I think I would have been out of this business years and years ago. It's about those people that want to come back, that want to send their children, their parents to us. Um, but I'm spending a lot of time working on real estate matters for the city. So I'm now on a government affairs committee, and I'm being much more vocal with people about what that entails, and that it's not about just helping them buy and sell houses, but that I'm out there actively putting my time where my mouth is. And I'm, talking to city council about zoning changes and dealing with we're redoing our comprehensive plan. We're talking about, where are we building new houses versus where we should not be building new houses, and kind of having that as a holistic approach. I have the ability to do that now because I'm far enough in to doing the business that I can take the time to do that. But I think that people seeing that I'm working for them even when I'm not in front of them, and it has nothing to do with what's going on right then. I have clients that, they need zoning in this city for multifamily housing where they can build a house and have a full in-law suite for mom or for a disabled relative on property, and our zoning doesn't allow that. So I'm fighting for that behind the scenes, and I think that changes the feel that I have for clients that are suffering with those things. I know that's kind of a niche thing, but I think it's really important for people to know that we're not just buying and selling real estate, that we're being active in, I'm very active in the Realtors Association. I'm very active with what's going on with City Council. I'm actually walking into a, a meeting with the city right now. So I think that that's very important that people understand that it's not just about the money. It's about people being able to have the American dream of home ownership.
Love that.
One
Any
other
questions?
thing that we've done, and y'all may find this helpful or you may have already done it, but we big on client events, and part of that also the education portion of it. We've had an insurance agent come in and we kind of do an open call. It's not just to our clients, we open it up to everyone, but come in and kind of talk about what's happening, what's being projected, what's going on. We had a how to write your own will class. Some things like that again, it's not necessarily just pertaining to real estate, but it's the education. It's all like the bigger picture part.
Value. You're adding value
Yep.
in other ways. Yeah. Any questions from you that you guys can think of that you wanted to ask in other market areas? We have a quiet group.
Well, is your market like multiple offers, waiving inspection, like what's going on in your markets?
Ours is definitely not. We had a slowdown May of 2022 with the interest rates and insurance crisis. It just kind of brought our market, I won't say to a halt, but it's definitely, things are a lot slower. Our market has never, beyond the pandemic market, which I don't consider a real market, right? Like that's kind of a one-off, hopefully. Um, we don't see the waiving of inspections or the waiving of appraisal like other markets do. New Orleans market is typically a little bit more steady than others art markets. We didn't see a big downfall like in 2000, was it 2009? When other markets really slowed down. We kind of stay a little bit more even, so we don't have those big ebbs and flows beyond the pandemic market. And now we've seen with the declining population, our market is definitely slower, longer days on market now. Um, Not as many second homeowners, which we're, big hospitality city. So people come here and they're like, I want to live here and, want to buy something. So we're not seeing and haven't seen quite that same activity.
Our market is the tale of two markets. We have some areas that are seeing multiple offers, things are getting bid up, inspection waivers, appraisal guarantees, all of that. But we could be 10 minutes down the street and something's sitting on the market. It I attribute a lot of that to the HGTV culture of if the house is pretty, people want it. It's amazing because the house can be beautiful inside and need a new roof and a new HVAC, and it might get multiple offers. But if the house has an old kitchen, it may not get multiple offers, and it's very strange. But we still have a lot of sellers who want to push the envelope on pricing, and the minute they try to be aggressive and price that house too high, it'll sit.
Mhm.
And so you can almost tell when something hits the market. I'll see a house and a price on the market, and I'll know if it's an experienced agent or a new agent because the new agents got bullied by their sellers and they're pricing them too high, and the experienced agents are able to explain you're better off pricing it a little under and letting the auction take it. And then, they're bidding it up, they're waiving things, they're guaranteeing things. But if you price it too high, you lose all of that momentum. So we are a military market, which keeps us fairly even keeled. Our prices did go up during the pandemic and that rush, but they did not go up as high as some other markets. So started, now that the market has calmed down some, they haven't gone down as much. They're basically holding steady, which is great. But we're definitely still in a seller's market, but it's not the extreme seller's market that it was. We have less than 2 months of inventory on the market right now.
Yeah, we do too.
Mhm.
Richmond's pretty hot. And
Yeah.
during the, elections are always weird times. I feel like it slows down during that time, but we're back in the hot spring market again and starting to see multiple offers on just about everything. So
Mhm.
any other questions from you all?
Kimberly mentioned staying in touch and the patience game. And so I find myself in that position a lot where I meet with someone and their timeline is like a year or two, or it takes forever. So how do you reach out and not be gross and stay in touch? Because I've also lost people in that time frame too, where I'm like, holy shit, that's a house I met with them a year ago.
Yeah.
It would be a year. They didn't even call me back. Even if I
You don't want someone to swoop in.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want to make sure that they know that you're paying attention to what's going on around them. So, so I will often reach out to them with other houses that would be competition for them, other houses that may be interesting to them. So if they're thinking about, buying their first home a year from now, I'm paying attention to, okay, this is the price range you were in. This is what's going on with interest rates. So I'll send them a little message from time to time. I just want you to know interest rates are going up. That means that what you're going to be able to afford when you're looking on Zillow or Redfin is going to go down. So you need to, stop looking at the $300,000 houses. You now need to be looking at the 275 houses because the interest rates have caused your payment to be different, because I want to keep them informed as to what will be available down the road. The other thing that I do is I'm willing to show houses to people. I make sure they're under contract, under agency agreement with me because that's the state law, but I will show them houses before they're ready to buy because I want them to get used to walking into a house and seeing what's available and understanding what they like. So I will often say, okay, I understand you're not ready to buy for a year, but let's pop in and out of a couple of houses. Maybe every couple of months we'll go see one or two, because when you walk into a house, you're going to notice things that you like or dislike about a house that you're not going to know when we're sitting here, when you're ready to buy. You're going to say that you want, a big closet, but what does that really mean to you? And let's go look at things and getting them in and out so that they're prepared, and tell them that when they're ready, they will have done the legwork, and they'll not be at a beginner level looking at things. They'll be at an intermediate level, because they'll understand what they do like and what they don't. So if the first house that they go see when they're ready to buy is the right one, they'll be able to pull the trigger and do it. So they're just getting the information. On the seller side, I'm sending them the listings as they hit the market and as they close. This is what your neighbor's house sold for. And it's just a text. It's nothing fancy. It's just a, hey, sometimes it's a phone call. Hey, I just saw, the house 3 doors down went under contract. This is what it closed for. This means that your house is worth more or less than it was when we talked last time.
That's great.
I had a question. We all pretty much run our businesses by referral SOI, but we all also need to kind of what I call add fresh water. Like, so what is one way to add fresh water? So it's not your SOI, it's not your past client. They're not in your database at all right now. Is there one thing you're doing to expand your business, not necessarily through referral?
Reviews, Google reviews. We get a lot of Google.
Yeah.
Do you have a
Clients.
system? Do you have a system
How
for
do you
that?
get them to fill it out? Yeah, how do you get them
Right.
to actually fill the daggone thing out?
So yeah, we have a website. They come to through our contact form. We have a ton of client reviews on Google. We also use Rate My Agent. I guess there was a app I could have mentioned. See, I told you they'd come to me. Where we collect, and some of those will automatically publish to Google if they have a Gmail account and they opt into it. But we get a lot of business, or a good amount of business, from Google.
I agree with that. I think agents are sleeping on the Google. I think they focus on Zillow, but we all Google. Like we don't
Yeah,
always go on
yeah.
Realtor.com or Zillow.
But Rate My Agent, also we use a program called HomeBot, which will automatically
Yep.
send out sold data to your clients that are in your database. So I forgot to mention that one also. See, I told you they'd come to me eventually.
Yeah. I have a lot of people that use HomeBot. And then you can just follow up afterwards. Did you get it? Do you think it's accurately priced?
And I mean, you can go in there and kind of tweak things on it also. So if they've replaced their roof, or they can kind of go in there, which is kind of makes it interactive. And,
Yeah.
it's an algorithm. It's not always correct, but that's not the
Yeah.
point of it, right? Like,
Yeah. I
same
had one
thing.
client literally at HomeBot. She did 6 custom CMAs because they got
Yeah.
that email. Because they're like, this isn't right. And she's like, yeah, let me do a real one for you.
Yeah. It's a conversation starter. So also you can see how many times they're going in and looking at it. So you can kind of get a feel like, oh, hold on a minute. Are they
Yeah.
thinking about it? Maybe I can drop them a note, or, call
Yeah.
them and see what's going on.
Yeah.
So I just had a meeting this week with a company that is doing individualized QR codes on your just sold postcards. Are you all
Uh-huh.
familiar with this?
Uh-uh.
So, and I would not tell you this, except you're not in my market, so you're not competing with me, so I'll tell you all about it. So, the company is CoreFact, and they have a way to put a QR code on the mailing that you send out, and every postcard has its own QR code. So when, here's my just sold, but then it's got if you want to know what your house is worth, click this, and it will send me a message and tell me who clicked it.
That's smart.
What their
Yeah.
address is.
At least, yeah.
So it's not, they go to my website. I've had that in the past where they can go on my website and find their thing, but this is going to be a little bit more clandestine. So it's going to be a little bit more of a secret. So then I can start following up with them. My first one goes out next week and I'm super excited. So,
Yeah.
if you're interested, you can follow up with me in a couple of weeks and I'll let you know if I got anything, but it will track how often they're going on and looking at that. I thought that was really interesting.
That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I like that.
Love that.
But I go back to tapping into my retiring agents. That's
Yeah.
been a
That's
that's been
yours,
a
Russ.
lot of fun the last year because these agents are done with us.
Yeah.
And I'm just picking everything up and it's lovely.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to hit some old agents up.
There's plenty in our market that need to be retiring. Oh, sorry.
Well, good. Well, thank you guys so much. This was awesome. Really appreciate your time. And then where can they find you? My whole crew of people, where can they find you? They need to refer. What is it?
NewOrleans.com. And I was going to show y'all, we do a lot of branding also. So like we do cute little luggage tags that we'll send out and be like, take a trip with us,
Oh, I love
right?
that.
We have house stickers made for houses that we've sold. This is just one of them. It's bent because it was at the bottom of my purse.
Cute.
I leave these at like local coffee shops or places, right? So it's not super salesy. It doesn't say anything about real estate. Our website's right there on the bottom of it. They pick it up, put it out, and then, go on our website and kind of figure it out. So that's kind of a fun one also.
I love that.
I love that.
Everybody needs a koozie. Soft-sided keychains. These are great for lock boxes because they bend. We have not always used those. So
Love it.
Good. Kimberly, where can they find you?
You can find me at kimberlydenton.com or kimberly@kimberlydenton.com. Tracy has my info. Again, I serve everything kind of south of the Hampton Roads Bridge Tunnel. So if you have anyone coming down this way, please reach out. I am also a member of the Williamsburg MLS, if that is at all helpful to you.
Love it.
Great. Yeah. And of course, we're here in Richmond. So if you guys need any great agents in Richmond,
Absolutely.
you know where to find us.
You're the
All right,
only
well,
ones I send them to anymore.
thank you guys for your time. Really appreciate it.
thanks, y'all. Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.